What a loser. He never wins any money, I guess.
I know he only won like $500 or something yesterday. Holy schmoly! That Matcherino Cup, he was super stoked about that too. But welcome back to the Corsair Cup, ladies and gentlemen. We got a tweet out. If you could do us a favor, stop by on Twitter and hit that retweet button. I'd greatly appreciate it. But we are getting into game. It is map number 1 in a best of 3 and spawning in the bottom right side of Invader. It is going to be Root Gaming's Blue Zerg Hydra.
In the top right, as the red Zerg, it is Snute.
Now, it's worth noting, again, for those who are still unfamiliar with the maps, there's some weird rules when it comes to this map, and one of those rules is no cross spawns. So you'll know that your opponent spawned either horizontal or vertical, but not across the map. This is a little bit weird and interesting to me when it comes to the dynamics of ZvZ, but the one thing I really look at this map most for, and we've talked about this several times with other races and other matchups, is that hard to get third base, that even harder to get fourth base. When ZvZ revolves in a lot of these sort of 3-base Roach Ravager like mass, maybe Hive Tech builds, I think that third base plays a huge dynamic in this. So it's going to be really interesting to see whether somebody, whether this becomes a trend of just constant aggression that we've seen the few times we've played on this map, or if it's like that passive macro and you both agree silently, like, okay, we'll take 3 bases and play it out from there.
Well, I guess it's going to depend on the player. Hydra just did like an all-in, I think last time we saw ZvZ on this map with him. It is a short wall off, kind of. Like, it's not the biggest one we've ever seen. That's not, what was that? Daedalus. Haha, Daedalus. So, and Hydra has liked the gasless Roach builds, but I think that's too far away from your hatchery to do it. I'm not sure. It might be, might not. But anyway, because the thirds are kind of far away, they're not as bad for Zerg, of course, with their speedy units, but a lot of the times if it's too far away, you might see mutas dominate the map, because of course you usually build in the mutas with 2 base, if that's what you're going for anyway. Unlike Dusk Towers, where you build in 3 bases. And the only downside of that, I would say, is there's not a lot of dead space like in the main or in the natural. These rocks are air blockers, which they actually look like them, but I just don't.
Yeah. Well, not just rocks, but like you got doodads too. Like so much of this map are like air blockers.
Behind the natural or actual air blockers,
right?
Like merry-go-rounds. So in that aspect, mutas aren't that good.
Yeah, for those who haven't seen it, like the map looks like there's a bunch of space you can move around up here, but you can't straight up. So it does limit things.
But it's supposed to be low orbit, not actually on the planet. Okay.
Anyways, shoutouts to Style Up and Flying Sheepman. Thank you both for having fun names to say, and also for resubbing to the channel. Hydra gets a nice scout out of his opponent. Snute, of course, hasn't been across the map yet, so he's not quite aware of what Hydra's doing. He does know where he's spawned, but he doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Hydra's doing either. He's banking 200 gas right now. Okay, there's speed. Finally.
Yeah, Snoot's going to be hitting him perhaps hard. I mean, this is going to initially be Lings and potentially Banelings for fighting. He may have just got the Baneling Nest so that he has it to fight with. But we've seen several builds where you have Banelings intentionally to bust Spine Crawlers and tear down walls. And Hydra going for that wall, mentioned kind of previous. Roach Warren being put with it. I mean, this is not a great defense, to be honest, if Snoot was going for an all-in. But he's still droning.
Yeah. I believe Soul Key was able to bust maybe Hydra. I don't remember.
What, an Eva Chamber?
On those 2 bases, no. But we have Baneling Nest, Ling Speed, and a Roach Warren. I almost expected these to be the last few drones he was going to make, but no, he goes for third base, and it is just going to go to that Roach War. I mean, Hydra's wall came down at a time where I think that if Snute had dedicated to an attack with Lings and Banelings, he would have been able to get in there right before the wall was up, and even then it would have been very low health, but not any dedication so far. Hydra will have to live with the slower third base as he gets his slow roaches, and his speed is only just finishing up. I don't think he has any Lings. Is he going to attack, I guess, is the question now. He's the one that stopped droning, and he's getting a lot of roaches, 6 to 9 to 11 real quick, and he's going to have that Ling speed for at least reinforcements. He used all his gas up, so it's got to be Lings. Yeah, it's going to be an attack here. And Snoots, he just spent 300 minerals in a hatchery. We'll be able to defend against it.
And it's really far away, too. It's not even an easy defense. So this is going to be a little bit awkward for Snute. Now, logic should dictate that had he gotten away with this, he'd have so much more money than Hydra. You could defend better, blah, blah, blah. I would actually say right now, if Snute got like 3, maybe 4 Ravagers in total, 3 probably being more ideal, he could take this fight. but the Lings are going to be the biggest problem to deal with here. Like, the Roach count defender's advantage always goes in the favor of Snute if it was just Roach versus Roach. But, does Hydra not know? But, he knows about the third. He's just choosing not to go for it.
Yeah. If he goes for it, then defender's advantage might be a little less of a factor, but it's still a situation where even though he's going for this 2-base attack, Snute was able to match it while going for third base, and that's, usually not ideal. But Hydra has a third base coming down behind it. He's actually not that far behind in drones.
Hydra also gets his Ravager picked off immediately, which is a bit of damage taken out of the fight for certain. And Hydra, it's worth noting, has been kind of lazy with his Ravagers in the past. Snoot's morphing Ravagers directly in on the front lines as well. Hydra purposely and intentionally focusing them down. That's not too bad. And Snute does hold this position. Meanwhile, Link's counterattack and kill, not cancel, but kill Hydra's own third.
Yeah, well, I mean, luckily, Hydra is banking a ton of minerals, so he's able to put down not just a third, but a fourth hell. But he didn't have the army. He went so far down in army.
Yo, I gotta say, this is a great victory to see game 1 out of Snute. Not just because he beat Hydra, and maybe Hydra brings it back 2-1, but Snute has been kind of struggling when it comes to ZvZ. Having players like a Laser and several of the other Europeans just have his number at every turn. Then you got Hydra, who's like a just straight up world champion. It's good to see Snute take that first game, because I wasn't sure how his ZvZ was overall right now, but it's good to see him take that first map. Now, as far as what's left in the tournament, guys, we do have a couple of other players still competing on the other half of the round of 8. You got TLO currently playing against the Laser, Tails versus Kudo, Rodzen versus Tefel. It's pretty likely we'll see a ZvZ finals, but with a bit of luck and maybe some skill, we'll see some ZVP before then. But we got to wait for Hydra's choice for map number 2.
It's going to be Prion Terraces. Yeah, our hopes are on Tails and Rodzen.
I mean, I kind of talked about Tails not looking so great lately, but he has made it to the finals and the semifinals of a couple of cups recently. But I feel like the caliber of player here today is a little bit higher than average, so I think it's going to be a bit difficult for him.
Well, isn't he, hold on.
Where have all the good Terran gone, though, man?
If Tails beats Kudo, a Laser did lose to Billowy yesterday, so maybe his EVP isn't the greatest.
I'm looking for... Yeah, I'm ready. I'm looking for Bunny, Euthermal, Beastie.
We need that song, Where Have All the Good Men Gone?
Where have all the good Terran gone, and where all the...
Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's game number 2 here in the round of 8 for the Corsair Cup. Best of 3 already underway. Game number 2, and spawning on the top left side of Prion Terraces, we've got the Blue Zerg, none other than Roots Hydra, who is currently actually down 1 in the series.
The bottom right, as the Red Zerg, it is Liquid Snute.
Okay, so the first 2 lines of the song, I had to look it up, are Where have all the good men gone, and where are all the gods? So it's like, where have all the good Terran gone, and where are all the bourgeois?
Not bad. Exactly rhyme, but...
Where's the streetwise Hercules to fight the rising odds? So the gods would rhyme with that line.
The Hercules is an actual unit.
Yeah, where's the flying Hercules? Actually, I love the Hercules because in, was it the co-op missions? You can use it to pick up tanks like medevacs do. But it can pick up like 6. It can house a lot of units. I think it can fit like 4 Thors or something too. It's pretty silly. And it can teleport too, like the battlecruiser.
Ah, I didn't know that.
It's an absolutely terrible unit, but I love playing with it because it's fun.
Well, I know how you play Allied Commanders.
Yeah, well, actually you don't.
I saw you showed on Skype.
I know,
man.
You saw me be a scumbag one time, alright? That's not at all how I normally play Allied Commanders. Before. Okay, this is getting a little bit personal and it's starting to hurt my feelings, okay? I'm just saying.
Really?
No,
sure?
No, I always build like 20 command centers like every single time. Who am I kidding? All right, so Snute obviously took a really great game number 1. We got a gold-based map out of Hydra was the choice for Prion Terraces. So the question is, was Hydra picking this map with the intent of doing a big all-in, or is this just a map he's a little bit more comfortable playing on? Either way, he's the first one to put down a Baneliness, and he's much faster on the speed.
Yeah, going for that 1 base opener, just not an early pool, so he's gonna have that advantage. It's not as big as it could have been. I think Snute's got like a fairly like well-timed gas here, despite going for a hatchery a lot sooner. So he won't have that much trouble catching up, but it is about, of course, more to those banelings. Snute promptly puts down a... Oh, because he saw the timing on the hatchery. Yeah, okay, so he knows that it could be really aggressive. but then cancels it. Maybe the timing on the lings wasn't what he expected. Because, I mean, Hydra is still getting lings. Does that change his mind quite yet?
There's some sneaky banelings off to the side. So he's going to look for this. And the Overlord's going to see him looking for this too. So he will find the banelings. And now he knows fully aware of what's coming. But I think part of that cancel may have also been... Well, I don't like the idea of him taking a third. But part of that cancel may have been him just realizing, like, oh, I've actually got units to defend this with. Now,
But he's at banelings.
He sees the flood of units coming across the map. I agree. Like, not seeing the banelings is weird.
Okay, this isn't a terrible start, especially if the queens, there we go, target the heart of the banelings.
But he's going to lose the
queens. The lings were being kept back because of the banelings. Yeah, that was quite unfortunate. And speed only just kicked in.
He sends a couple of lings from behind to snipe off the banelings. That was kind of cute to see. He's going to focus on the banelings as well. Doesn't want Hydra to let these complete, as he does know that's his disadvantage. And he actually holds this position, but it was at the cost of 2 queens, which means no injects. He's got, excuse me, 1 still injecting, my bad, as he rebuilds the other. That's where you can fall off on Larva and start losing these very dedicated battles, but Snute trying to take a third while this goes on. Very bold, but yeah, not going to work.
Cancels for sure. Snute did have a drone lead, but then used it in, well, that third base in the baneling nest, so he has to be kind of careful with how he does this. It's not just about holding on. He has to make sure Hydra isn't getting a lot of drones behind it. This
is some fantastic focus fire from the queens, by the way. He's got to keep those lings back. His control's been great. Loses another queen. I mean, Snute's playing with just minerals. He's got a spine crawler up to do the same sort of job, same sort of role, just snipe off this baneling if at all possible. But Snute falling a little bit flat on the actual ling count and doesn't have his own banelings to equalize this. He's going to dive for the baneling, try and save the drones.
Luckily, there's not that many drones here, because of course you want to transfer them on Brion terraces. Another queen is going to go down. Another queen popped in the natural, and hopefully Hydra will never be allowed back in the main again. This should be the safe spot for Snute, but he did just lose 4 workers, bring him down 3. He had that hatchery at the natural a lot longer, so I'm guessing like this is kind of starting to equalize, but his defense is looking better now that he has banelings, and a spine crawler is moved to the front. He is starting to drone as he realizes that too, but Hydra's not giving up on the attack. I do also note that Hydra is playing from NA, so, you know, any mistakes could be blamed on that. Any cool moves could be applauded for that. That's most of his banelings gone. Once again, another surround on the queen, but Snute's own banelings is a trick for Hydra to deal with, and he's pushed back. He is starting to drone at the same time Snute is. So their drone counts aren't too different. Snute just had that little bit of a bump in the early game.
Yeah, I mean, this was something that did look harrowing for a moment there. I mean, if Hydra had actually gotten any of those banelings past, if Snute was being lazy and complacent with the queens, like if any small mistake was made out of Snute, this could have been much worse. And I guess that does call a certain amount of attention to just how well Snute did handle the situation.
Yeah, I mean, that was very impressive. To have no banelings, to have that confidence is, well, I guess a mark of a pro gamer, but still impressive. All right, so the third base is not something that Snute's going to be trying to go for. It's by going for it, attempting to twice before, and is just going to kind of suck it up and go for a lair instead. Gets all 4 gases, and I'm guessing he's going to be going into a Spire. Now, Hydra's getting a Roach Warren, which... without a third base coming down, he has the minerals for it. It might be for a follow-up attack.
This baneling's regular control has been insane, by the way. If Snute's going to be the one late to the Roach party, he is going to have a bad time, but he is going for the lair and what I assume is a Spire. So if this ends up being Snute going for mutas and Hydra going for Roaches, Hydra will have that potential timing to hits. And unlike other maps... again, you're going to have those gold bases, you're going to have that saturation up, you'll probably have more roaches than normal, which could make this a little bit harder to hold than you normally would in the same situation on, say, I don't know, Dusk Towers.
Now, Hydra does get a third base, but, that might have just been because he was banking a ton of cash and wasn't able to put it into roaches anyway with the amount of larvae he had. Because, yeah, he's still getting more roaches. He's way down in drones. Like, this is going to be an attack, and as you were saying, this could be perfectly set up for Hydra to really bust Snute as he tries to go for a Spire. But, he already has a Spine Crawler. He has a good amount of lings, too. I think he might be looking for a bit of a counter. He should have the mobility here and should be roaming around the map. And that might get him eyes on the roaches and not enough time to start Spine Crawlers. Or maybe not.
I don't think he's going to be able to rely on Spine Crawlers. Snute's best bet might actually be use these lings to pressure and keep Hydra at home defending instead of...
That's the ideal, yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
pressure that third. I mean, Hydra Scout's no third, so even without scouting the Spire, he probably has a decent idea now. Snoot's throwing down 2 more Spine Crawlers to be safe.
Oh, 6 more.
Sorry, 6 more. That quickly went up. I don't know that he'll actually get to finish many of these in time, though. And the question really is, like, how do you use these Lings now? You can catch a Ravager in the middle of the map now, but lose all your Lings in the process.
This isn't...
You could have them for fodder. I mean, catching the Ravagers is huge, and he's actually going to keep a majority of them alive. This starts looking a lot better for Snute, who's got enough money to make 8, 9 mutas right off the bat.
Right, yeah, the Spine Crawlers are about to finish. They are covering the lair. I think that's actually a really smart choice from Snute, as opposed to all 6 in the front, where maybe 2 of them would be sniped off by now. They're all covering not only the lair, but also a little bit of the Spire.
Now
So...
he's going for the Banelings. They're going to be able to bust through most of what's left after this. The Spines are doing exactly what they need to in this buying time, but Snoot's going to take some pretty heavy losses in a second to that drone line. He's going to lose these Spine Crawlers for the defense. Can he recover with these mutas?
I think so. You know, that only brought them down to even on the drone counts. The mutas pop, and they just stay where they pop because they're right on top of those roaches. But the Ling Flood, that's what I was going to bring up. The initial Banelings of Snute did kill the Ling Flood, but a further Ling Flood can be very difficult to clean up. The Spine Crawlers in the main base, however, were also an excellent choice from Snute. As long as he keeps these drones alive and both bases alive.
Yeah, look at the worker count. He's actually fine.
To,
I think Snoot's about to 2-0 Hydra.
I think so.
I mean, at this point, we got to discuss the real thing that is ZvZ and how hard it is to deal with mutas. And Hydra prepped so much for this big all-in attack. He's mined out most of his natural base after all. He's not got any security around this third. As long as Snute doesn't die to the Ling counterattacks and things running by, he'll be fine. And with Spine Crawlers and Queens for defense, that should be exactly what he needs.
This is the worst thing, is that Ling Floods will be hard to keep up with, chase, and clean up. You know, they get everywhere, and they're really quick. So 3 more drones go down, but as long as he doesn't go below, like, I would even say 15 drones, I think mutas have a big capability of bringing the game back.
Yeah.
And certainly he should be taking map control as he gets more and more mutas, and, you know, should be okay with droning. His Lings are now finally covering Hydra's Lings, so they shouldn't be as much of a worry.
I mean,
they're still trying to snipe drones.
It's like a drone. It's really not that much, though. Snoot's still sitting on 27. The Queens are certainly a little bit concerning. We've talked about this with players like Namshar and others. You can actually use Mass Queens to snipe the mutas pretty easily, but there's only 1 Spore Caller per base. Baneling Nest is exposed. Mineral lines aren't properly covered. I mean, for Snute, there's free pickings all over the place. Goes for the spawning pool. Oh, that's clever, actually, because you're not going to be massing roaches. You're going to be massing Lings. And, of course, without a spawning pool, you can't produce more Queens either, which is a small added bonus.
Yeah, it could be very important. It's his only real anti-air, is, you know, anti-air that can move, so that is fairly important. But Hydra with this, I guess as you call it, like a third all-in versus the Ling bust, and there was the Roach bust, and now it's a Queen bust, still has an army that is scary. But can it base race? No, not really. Can it just destroy Snoot's main base? I don't think so, but he's going to try. Slow Queens, moving on over. Very slow.
Well, the mutas, if they take out the Banelings, the Lings will take on the Queens. The Lings will take on the Lings. I mean, I still don't feel bad for Snute at all in this position. This is Hydra's best attempt to win the game, and there's a lot of transfuses. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of transfuses on this Queens. And Snute actually might not be able to take this head on with those mutas, but again, a lot of this falls back to the Lings being the support that he needs. He's going to try and hold on to his third, and he should be able to save this.
Yeah. Bringing on the Spine Crawlers from his main base, not a bad idea. A couple Lings into the main, however, more mutas on the way out. They're going to get their upgrade. And the Lings and the mutas should be able to take on the Queens. That's so many transfuses.
Baneling went off in the main, though. Snute did take a bit of damage over there. Queens are finally out of juice, though, and the Lings are cleaning this up. As Snute's trying to micro back the low-health mutas, he's still good to go, though. Despite the kills in the main, 22 drones remain, and Hydra just used everything in the potential counterattack. He did finally get a new spawning pool up, so the Queens are back under production, but this is not a clean game for Hydra. Oh, hello.
Bye-bye. The fact that he was unable to kill a third base, which should have been free, he purposely disengaged because he thought I would get that anyway, and then tried to re-engage, and Snute was able to clean it up. So that's a pretty big deal. As he gets his drone count back up, we have 4 more on the way. He's going to be able to transfer them to that third. His main still has, of course, a couple minerals because it's not really been mining. And, you know, for 3 base, I'd say that 45 workers is fine. He doesn't want to lose the space. There's no transfuse. He's going to right-click on that.
Oh, my God. Barely goes down, but it's still kind of okay for Snute. In fact, losing some of the defense over here is not, though. He's going to lose some drones in the natural. Kind of sucks. But I will say Hydra's been doing a lot of things right for this position. I mean, again, Snute could still lose this game by throwing, making mistakes. Smaller crawlers have been given time to be made. But it's finally time for Snute to go on the attack. And I think he realizes this too. So he's going to head over to this third. And once he knocks this down, Hydra's going to be out of cash in the same way Snute's hurting for money. And I think that's going to be the payback he really, really wants.
And surprisingly, Hydra has quite a bank. Nothing to really spend his gas on, which is a little bit useless, but certainly enough to build a couple more queens. But they build kind of slow, and they don't have a lot of chance fuse. They needed more time, and they just get taken out.
Hydra's going for what is a bit of a base trade, but it's not going to cut it. GG. Ladies and gentlemen, Snute is going to take the series 2-0 and advance on to the semifinals. Thank you to Venomuro, by the way, for that resub right here at the end of the game. 11 months strong. Good friend. But that does put us in the potential situation for semifinals. Bottom half of the bracket looks like Tails was knocked out by Kudo. I don't know who Kudo is, so that'll be interesting to see. Snute advancing plays either the winner of Tefl and Rodzen, and then Tilo and a Laser are still playing, so the winner of that goes to the semifinals as well. We will cast both the semifinals. We will cast the grand finals. We get 3 series left behind this. But we're going to go to some ads, so we'll see you guys in 2 minutes.